Picture this. You go to sleep tonight under a clear sky, the moon hanging right where it always does. And when you wake up, it's gone. Not eclipsed, not hidden behind clouds. Just gone. Vanished. No explosion, no debris, no warning. One night there's a moon, and the next morning there isn't. Sounds like the setup for a sci-fi movie, right? But let's actually think this through. Because the truth is, losing the moon wouldn't just mean darker nights and fewer werewolf jokes. It would unravel the planet in ways most people never think about. So let's walk through what would actually happen, hour by hour, year by year, if the moon simply blinked out of existence. Let's start small. Literally, the first thing you'd notice, if you happen to be awake at the right moment, is the sky looking wrong. No moon means no moonlight, which means the night gets dramatically darker. We're talking about losing the second brightest object in our sky, gone in an instant. Stargazers would actually love this part at first. Without the glow of the moon washing out the sky, stars pop more vividly than most city dwellers have ever seen. But that's about where the good news ends. Within hours, something stranger starts happening along every coastline on Earth. The tides begin to change. Not stop completely. The sun still pulls on our oceans a little. But the tides we know, the rhythmic rise and fall that fishing communities, ecosystems, and shipping schedules are built around, shrink to a fraction of their usual strength. The moon is responsible for roughly 2/3 of Earth's tidal pull. Lose it, and the oceans essentially go quiet. That might sound harmless. It is not. Think about the creatures that live in what's called the intertidal zone, the strip of coastline that gets covered and uncovered by water twice a day. Crabs, barnacles, mussels, countless species of fish and plankton. Their entire life cycle is timed to those tidal rhythms. Some species only spawn during specific tidal phases. Coral reefs, believe it or not, often synchronize their mass spawning events to lunar cycles. Sea turtles use moonlight to navigate. Nocturnal predators and prey have evolved instincts based on how bright or dark a given night will be. Take away the moon, and you don't just dim the lights. You break the timing mechanism for an enormous portion of ocean life. Some species might adapt over generations. Many others simply wouldn't have the time. And this is where people usually assume the moon's job is basically done. Tides, some ocean chaos, a spookier night sky. But the moon's biggest, quietest job is one most of us never think about at all. The wobble problem. Here's the thing about Earth. It doesn't spin perfectly upright. Our planet is tilted on its axis by about 23.5 degrees, and that tilt is the entire reason we have seasons. Without the tilt, there'd be no summer, no winter, just a kind of permanent, boring sameness depending on where you live. The moon, it turns out, is the reason that tilt stays stable. Earth's gravity constantly nudges and pulls at itself and its neighbors, and left alone, our axial tilt would wander, chaotically, unpredictably, possibly by tens of degrees over long stretches of time. The moon acts like a gyroscope, a stabilizing weight that keeps our tilt locked in a relatively narrow, predictable range. Take the moon away, and that stability disappears with it. Over thousands, maybe just hundreds of years, Earth's tilt could begin to swing wildly. Imagine a world where the axial tilt shifts from 10 degrees to 40 degrees over a relatively short cosmic time frame. Seasons wouldn't just change, they'd become violent and unpredictable. Ice ages could arrive out of nowhere, deserts could freeze. Regions with mild, stable climates could suddenly face extremes they've never adapted to. Mars, for context, doesn't have a large moon to stabilize it, and scientists believe its axial tilt has swung dramatically over its history, sometimes by as much as 60 degrees. That's the kind of chaos Earth has been quietly protected from, this whole time, by the rock hanging in our sky. There's another piece of this most people never learn in school. The moon is slowly, gradually, breaking Earth's rotation. Billions of years ago, a day on Earth lasted somewhere around 6 hours. Today, thanks to the gentle tug of the moon's gravity acting like a brake pad on our planet's spin, a day lasts 24 hours. The moon is still doing this right now, adding roughly 1 extra second to our day every few decades. If the moon vanished, that brake would be released. Earth's rotation wouldn't suddenly speed back up. Physics doesn't work like slamming a car into reverse. But the slow, steady deceleration we've relied on for billions of years would stop. It's a subtle effect, but it's one more thread in a very tightly woven system, quietly coming undone. What humans would actually feel. Let's bring this back down to something more immediate, because axial wobble and rotational braking are slow-motion disasters, the kind of thing that plays out over centuries. What would people actually notice in year 1? Coastal fishing industries would be hit almost immediately. Weakened tides mean disrupted nutrient cycles in shallow waters, and that ripples straight up the food chain, from plankton to the fish that people depend on for food and income. Calendars, believe it or not, would need adjusting too. Many cultures and religious traditions still base their calendars on lunar cycles, from the Islamic calendar to countless harvest festivals and agricultural planning systems built around the moon's phases. Nighttime itself would feel different in a way that's hard to describe until you've experienced it. A moonless night in the wild isn't romantic, it's genuinely disorienting. Hikers, sailors, and anyone without artificial light would suddenly be navigating true darkness on clear nights, something most of us in the modern world rarely, if ever, encounter. And then there's the quieter, stranger loss. Cultures across the entire span of human history have built mythology, art, poetry, and meaning around that pale disk in the sky. Every full moon that's ever inspired a song, guided a sailor home, or marked a turning point in a story, gone. It sounds sentimental, but the moon has been a fixed, reliable presence for every single human who has ever lived. Losing it wouldn't just be a scientific event, it would be a psychological one. Here's the honest answer. Yes, probably. Earth wouldn't become uninhabitable overnight. Life is stubborn, and evolution has a way of finding new equilibriums, even brutal ones. But could go on, and would go on the same way, are very different things. The climate would eventually destabilize. Coastlines and ecosystems would restructure themselves. Entire species that depend on lunar rhythms would face extinction pressure they've never had to deal with before. In the very long run, thousands of years down the line, Earth could end up looking more like Mars in terms of climate unpredictability. Not lifeless, but chaotic. A planet without its quiet, gravitational babysitter. So the next time you glance up and see the moon sitting there, half forgotten, doing nothing particularly dramatic, it's worth remembering what it's actually doing behind the scenes. It's not just decoration. It's not just something to howl at. It is, in a very real sense, one of the reasons Earth has been livable, stable, and predictable for billions of years. We tend to take it for granted because it's always just there. But maybe that's exactly why it deserves a second look. Because if it ever wasn't there, we'd understand very quickly just how much we owed it.